Well, hello there.
Whoa! Yo, what am I doing in your room?
Hey, hologram.
Hey, how'd you know? How's it going,
Hey,
bro?
what's up? Wait.
Hang on, second one.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
and
one.
because our audio is down here, y'all heard that really nice.
Good smack there.
Dude,
how's it going, everybody?
It's going great. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into Glad Chat Podcast. And for the first time in history, not only we're in the same room like we've always been for most of our episodes, but we're also on video. So I'm not a hologram. I'm real.
It's true. Jordan.
Don't touch me, Rudy. Don't touch me. So what does this mean? Does this mean that we're at least personally ending quarantine because I don't have coronavirus, you don't have coronavirus.
Yeah.
We're all alive so far. Hopefully everybody out there is still alive. We actually don't know because I haven't seen them in like a month.
Yeah. Look, guys, you can't just keep living your life in your bedroom, okay?
I mean,
you might like playing video games out there, but this isn't real.
Dude, isn't that weird? It's like all I used to dream about, especially when I was a teenager, was just waking up and just playing video games. That's all my life was. And now that we're older and we have responsibilities, and like there are girls in our lives and things to do, we're like after like an hour, I'm just like, I could have been a contender.
Isn't it funny how like I was thinking about this the other day? I got kind of sad thinking about, man, I just wish things were normal again. And then I stopped and I said, wait a minute, because I was having an interior monologue. I was like, wait a minute.
Dialogue with Trifo over here.
There was nothing normal about what I was doing, like commuting and just like hating my job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, there's something more here. And that kind of led me into a more spiritual space to ponder what life is really all about. But we got this opportunity now where, at least I do, where it's like, hey, here's like 1 million hours of time. You can do whatever you want with it. It's like, I don't feel like doing what I want to do, like what I enjoy doing anymore.
It's kind of funny because
sick of it.
We worked ourselves into these routines, right? Where it's like, oh, like if I have this time, like I'm going to do anything with our time. And then now that we have time more or less has been thrust upon us all of a sudden for a lot of us. It's so funny how many days I'm like, I could do this. And then like 3 hours go by. I'm like, what am I gonna? Now on the flip side, I have been a little productive. I did buy I bought some grout cleaner and I bought essentially an industrial looking toothbrush that's supposed to be for cleaning your tiles.
Do you put it on the drill?
No. So when I say it's a toothbrush, I mean this thing looks like a toothbrush. It's like a bigger toothbrush. That's all they did, which makes you think that this technology is just all universal. And you can just like get in there and maybe it comes with like a machine gun and like.
So you're preparing your apartment for your inevitable wedding, right?
Yeah, really. I'm just like, I'm clean. Inevitable is the key word there,
right?
Like,
okay, I gotta sort everything out. She's gonna be here.
Yep. And so now it's time to the bachelor pad. I know. I bought. I was trying to be productive, and I looked at my bathroom, and I bought a new rug and a new like what's it like a not blanket, but that cushion for like the top of the toilet seat.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Dude, I'm shedding. It's bad. You know what Jen said? She said it was very domestic of me. Oh. That was the meanest thing she's ever told me. You stop that right now.
You're not so rough on the edges anymore.
I used to be such a mountain man. Do you remember when we went camping and we went up to the mountains and like for that day and that really cold night we were kings? Now I'm domestic.
Yeah. that night, you were the only one who got any sleep that night.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, I didn't sleep a wink.
Well, that's because I'm
like, dude, are you hearing the coyotes outside?
It's because I'm a Coloradan. Like mountain lions and coyotes are just like in my backyard anyway. But fun fact, alpacas will kill a coyote since they're together. They're herd animals. They will kill one if they get the chance to.
Cool.
Just letting you know that might save your life someday.
It's like something you'll see on YouTube. Nature is metal.
Or it's like on Instagram. There's a page called Real Nature. You ever seen that?
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying I recommend it.
Don't go look at this. This is macabre stuff.
It's real nature. It's like I know what a butcher bird does now. You know what a butcher bird does.
Yeah. All right. Who's in the chat here? Sound off, everybody.
Oh.
Grace is here. Grace, what's up?
Hey, Zach, how's it going?
My beloved is here.
Ashley
Hello.
is here. Wow, is she still watching us? Wow.
Michael's here. Hey, Michael. Don't freak out. I'm over the shutdown. Yeah, we are too.
You know what? Things partially... Well, apparently I knew someone today was like, or yesterday was like, things won't get back to normal until there's a vaccine. And everyone went,
Yeah.
But
okay.
what's funny is that some things open up this Friday, actually. Which is why...
Which ones?
Okay, that's a very good question because I cannot quite remember. Not restaurants yet. It's better to say, are we doing the sweet St. Vitus Church? Come, welcome home.
Come, gather.
Come as you are to worship.
Wait, so what's opening?
Sorry, totally got off. Okay, so let me rephrase what's not opening. That might be easier. Churches still aren't opening. Schools still aren't opening. Restaurant dining in still isn't opening. But like there is, offices can kind of go back to, some offices can go back to snuff. Barbershops can go back to snuff. More like kind of shopping-y things can go back to snuff. Mm-hmm. So it's phase one. But beaches, I think, are still going to be closed, and anything fun to do essentially is going to be closed still. Yeah. But at this point, right? But look what's happening all over the states. Like, there people are. I mean, the whole country's opening up. Colorado's essentially 20 days ahead of California, it seems, just in terms of how they're phasing things. Mm-hmm. Texas is like going all's bay to all way. They're going full pedal to the metal. Like that one lady tried to open up her barber shop, and now is a national hero. Yeah. So that's all good. So hopefully we have, I know it's never going to be a vaccine till normalcy returns, but I'd say that this is
Would you get the vaccine? I wouldn't.
Now, since Bill Gates is peddling it, no, absolutely not. But it's funny, right? Because there's no strain of coronavirus that's ever had a vaccine, but now they're saying that, well, the only way this can end is if we have a vaccine. No, it's going to be magically sitting on a shelf.
Oh, hey guys, we finally got it done.
Yes.
Come here, give me your arm.
I know, give me your arm and your freedoms too. So that's good. But obviously, like, more people out here. I mean, in fact, where we're sitting right now, we can see the streets, and I don't know, you've noticed it, but there's just always more cars. There's still less traffic on the highway, which is lovely. I was coming back from Malibu yesterday because I had a little coronavirus date where we got out of the house, and that was nice.
With the virus?
With the virus.
Does Jen know?
Don't tell Jen. But I thought that maybe I could be friends, I live so close to it anyway that might as well. Mm-hmm. But that was nice, and so everything's still empty. But yeah, there's just more people are just going, I got to get back to work, and I just also need to get out of the house. And so the conversation shifted to like mental health. You'll hear a lot of too.
Yeah. So. I don't know the statistics. I don't know if they're keeping track, but I'm curious to see what the percentage of people who had like an uptick in mental health issues versus the amount of people affected by coronavirus.
Well, apparently, in Australia at least, there are more people dying of suicide right now than dying of coronavirus. There has been there's been an over 1,000% margin of calls to suicide hotlines, and on top of that, so yeah, I think that, and it's like we're not supposed to be inside all the time, surrounded all the time, right? Like part of the human condition is the freedom. G.K. Chesterton defines freedom as the ability to shut one's own door. And so imagine if you don't have the ability to open your door, right? We're not meant to live under tyranny. And we're not meant to live under fear. As Christians, we know this especially. Mm-hmm. So I think that a lot of people are just like, I can't live like this. Like, and especially since we see the death count. Obviously, every death is a tragedy. I mean, it's a statistic. I'm just kidding. But when we weigh apples and oranges, here in all of California, there's only been like 1,300 deaths.
You know what kills me is I've seen
coronavirus.
Coronavirus kills me. I've seen this thing coming around like on Twitter, like everywhere. It'll say like, "I'm wearing this to save a life," and it's like a person with a mask. Yeah. And it's like what? Like your perspective is completely off because you don't believe that all of the lives that are killed every single day in abortion. Because of abortion, like you wouldn't do anything to speak out against that, but you'll wear a mask and like.
Well, again, it's very funny how abortion mills are an essential industry. So that's something to always kind of consider. And one thing I've been thinking about is it's like this whole categorization of essential and non-essential business, which I know we're going to get into during our Mad Trad segment. Because we got to do...
Yeah, we've got a Mad Trad segment for you. We've been kind of not doing it for a while.
Because this whole thing has been upsetting, but now we're back in the saddle, and we got a good one today.
We have some good ones here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, we're getting a little choppy here, so bear with us.
Cool. So anyway, now we are back together, and we thought that after this whole time of kind of, being under lockdown and quarantine, we needed some fun, man. Like... We haven't...
Just something to smile about.
Just something to smile about. And so, for us, especially, us being the young trad gentlemen that we are, and also we have been uber into meme culture for the past couple of years, dankly. What is a better thing to talk about than dank memes that that Papists love and that your Protestant pastor doesn't want you to see because we got some doozies, my dudes. We got some real contenders.
Dank memes.
Dank memes for Catholic teens. So let me give some backstory while we kind of queue up a couple. So one thing about the traditionalist movement inside the church, and one thing, even just generally speaking across the culture, more traditional kind of people, is there's an understanding that there's something called the meme war, shall we say. This is a term that you would have heard a lot of during 2015 and 2016 with the presidential election, but it's not just spread into politics. It's across whole culture because we are in a huge culture war, like huge societal shifts. Stakes are real this time. What is a meme? Well, I think that the textbook definition is a little general, right? But it's just essentially it's an idea that takes a form of its own and lives on, oftentimes incorporating humor or some sort of social commentary or something. That's way too academic. For Dank Memes and for the meme war, the answer is that it's something that sheds light, pokes fun at the wrong side, the modernist kind of view for Catholics, as well as like really kind of upend and make fun with the real trad truths that we have. So what's kind of cool about falling into the Latin Mass is that...
Wait, it wasn't always that though.
Oh, okay.
I think that it's had an organic shift into that direction where it's more of a statement, whereas before it was just like
yeah, that's a good point.
It was just like nothing. I think that characterized the beginning of meme culture. It was just like, what am I looking at? This is random.
That's a really good point because if you think about like the 4chan, if you think about 4chan, like especially 2015, 2016, that was a funny time because what you saw is like a place. I still say that 4chan is like where the internet goes to die. I won't. I'm not saying don't go to 4chan. Like seriously, don't. But it's silly to pretend that it does. But it's silly to pretend it doesn't play a sort of cultural place because they weaponized meme warfare in like the first time. Again, there's a way to understand a lot of what goes on right now and how we can kind of connect and find deeper values and meanings through meme culture. And so stuff like that's like the edge of the internet. In terms of the trad space.
What was the first meme that you remember? I remember mine. I think it was probably like Boom Headshot. Do you remember that video?
Yeah.
You don't know what that is. It's like this guy who's like, he's a gamer, and it's a parody of like a typical gamer. Mm-hmm. And he's just obsessed with this video game called CSGO. It's like a first-person shooter. Anyway, really funny video. It took off. I can remember in like high school, people would just shout it every day. You know, it's like, oh, boom, headshot.
Yeah, something along those lines. I don't know. You know what's very funny is that I think that my understanding of dank memes, as I kind of think of them, is relatively recent. By that I mean to say it's really only in the last 4 years. There were videos growing up because like I was in middle school when YouTube started. So it was like, for me, it was like the Wild West days. And so something about that to think about is I remember like all the iconic videos, which I don't think were quite memes, but did carry a life of their own, right? I do remember Salad Fingers and Charlie the Unicorn and ASDF movie. And there are a lot of meme troll. The troll, that might have been my first meme, honestly, actually. The troll song, do you remember that?
No way. That was a classic. But let me throw it even further back.
Please do.
The first meme, Dancing Baby.
Oh, see, yes.
Do you remember Dancing Baby?
I remember it, but see, I didn't let it become part of me. If that's the case, then I would say that Crazy Frog, for me, was like the first meme, but I never liked Crazy Frog.
Crazy Frog was the worst.
It was the worst. And it's
it was the most annoying thing ever.
That's right, but it is, technically speaking, a meme.
That's the one that goes...
Well, it goes... No, that's... Oh, it does, yeah. Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah,
ding, ding, ding. Wow, did you just see my brain die a little bit? I just got 4chan for a second.
Grumpy Cat related is Grace. Oh, Grace.
Oh,
so young.
Witch Doctor song. Oh, remember like the duck song, all that kind of stuff. Okay, let me ask you this question though. So maybe let me paraphrase it this way. So in the trad movement, there's a lot of young people, obviously. And meme culture, it seems like, is definitely a millennial Gen Z kind of thing. Like, I just can't, like, I've tried showing my parents, like, stuff. And they just, like, here's a TikTok compilation and stuff, right? No, TikTok? But, you know, like, well, there's good ones. There's always good ones. not like normie TikTok, right? Normie. And even that phrase, like, normie, like, I'm into dank stuff. But the trad world has started producing its own kind of memes for a couple of reasons. First off, because it's an idea that speaks really well to a technological space. But second of all, it's just fun, and I think that one day we'll probably get into like the different subdivisions and not factions, but there are different there are obviously different pockets inside any sort of peoples, and inside traditionalists, like you do have like sometimes like there is like you just kind of feel like you're part of the boys in a certain kind of way. You know what I mean?
I don't know if they meant it this way, but there's all this talk about new evangelization. This is it.
This is it.
But not the kind of normie stuff that they tend to say, like, "Oh, look at this funny meme." Oh, so funny.
We're gonna
now,
see. Yeah.
It's like, whoa, these are like kind of complex things that I didn't hear about before. It's like, oh, this is funny, and I connect with it. But then I'm like, oh, let me research this a little bit more.
What do you say we pull some up?
All right.
What do you say we get right into the dreg heap?
All right. So here's our first meme, everybody.
Ooh, drum roll.
And this is gonna be a nice lighthearted one.
Mm-hmm. Lighthearted, huh? Oh, it's beautiful. Okay, so I'm sorry. Everyone,
this is one of Jordan's favorites.
This is actually really one of my favorites.
Take a little scoot that way so that we can.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get out of its way. I'm sorry. People are like, I don't know what to expect. I'm sure. There we go. Is it up? Okay. So the great. I can't even. It brings me so much joy, and I know that's ironic. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was that rad melon grab he did that one time, and you have these two demons going, "Whoa, sick."
So this is on the more topical side of things, like.
Oh, yeah. Look, I think that there is a sort of a couple of things, right? There's a couple of things in this meme. First off, it's funny. Why is it funny? Because humor in and of itself often lies in the ironical twist of reality. So the devil doesn't do rad melon grabs. The devil isn't one who probably takes a lot of joy doing rad melon grabs because he doesn't have a lot of joy when you're disconnected from God that way. But it's just so dank. I look at it it's twist, right? Because we always say like, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is making people believe that he doesn't exist. That's usually how the phrase goes, and that's true. And so it just takes it and twist a little bit. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was a rad melon grab. He did that one time. So like Tony Hawk Underground era right there. There's no glory to this devil, obviously, but it's just a little dank, and it's just a little bit of fun. And one thing to remember is part of like my kind of Chesterton approach to Catholicism is sometimes when things get bad or when we have to encounter bad things, the best thing to do is just to smile at it. So yeah, that's one of my favorite.
That's a good one. So we're starting off kind of light here, right?
Yeah, light memes your mom can like.
Yeah, this is one you could send to your mom and dad.
which I try. I don't know if you do, but I try.
They'll get it.
Ooh.
They'll understand it.
I like this one. You pull it up.
All right, this is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Get them.
Scoured this over the internet here. One sec.
Nice. Get them.
All right, here we go. This is Pope Pius X, and this is a throwback meme. Whoa. We'll just
Grace. Next meme. Yeah.
We'll cover our faces here a little bit.
For Pius X, yeah, I'll do that. No problem.
All right, now this is a throwback meme. Maybe I'll just scoot over here. Like, hey guys,
how's it going, bros?
So here's the next. Here's the next. How do you do this? I'm stuck in a box. Wait.
Ooh, shoot. Here, I'll support.
Yeah,
there you go.
Like this, and then like this.
There you go. Whoa.
There we go.
Now that's a meme in of itself.
All right, this is a throwback meme. Raise your hand or speak out in the chat if you remember the internet around the 90s or early 2000s when you could like go on any kind of website, right? And you would have like ads on the side of the screen, and it'll just like be like random stuff like, I don't know, free computer check.
That's right.
Blah, blah,
Click
blah.
here, right?
Click here, and it's like you click on it and you get a virus. So they're going for this here, right? But the reason why this one is so great is because Pope Pius X wrote this amazing encyclical called Pascendi.
Yeah.
And there's more to the title, but my Latin is not that great. But if you type in Pope Pius X Pascendi, it's an encyclical that he wrote about all of the errors of modernism that were prevalent or like kind of poking their heads out like little moles out of the ground at that time in the church. And the reason why this encyclical is so good is because if you read it today, you realize that like a lot of these errors not only were not whacked like moles coming out of the ground, they like went back in and then waited their time, and now they're back. They like popped their head out. So anyway, a big fan of Pope Pius X. He's really awesome. So if you click here,
you get a free heresy
check.
The next time you're on a Father James Martin video and you're just not quite sure, just click that.
Imagine that it's like a sponsored ad.
Well, do you remember?
Can we pay for it? You gotta do it.
Yeah, let's.
We'll target James Martin viewers.
This is what you need. Remember, this is like the conversation about the mandatum. This is what you do to counteract it. You're like, I don't know if I trust this.
Mandatum?
Oh man. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next one. Let's see. Oh, that one. Yes, that one, please.
All right. This one's a little big, so I'll have to adjust it a little bit.
Oh, that's because Father Ripperger is big trad energy.
Big trad energy.
That's right.
So Father Ripperger, he gets this rap like he's like the most legit like authority, and he certainly is. But I think people like put him up on a pedestal sometimes. Mm-hmm. But here we go. We have Father Ripperger.
That's right. Okay, so anyway, a little bit of backstory. Father Ripperger is an exorcist priest who's actually in Colorado currently, my home state, which is why
he smokes pipes.
He smokes pipes. He's a absolute Chad, like just not mad trad. He's a rad trad, like a cool rad trad, like a '90s rad trad. And so one thing that he talks about a lot of times is he has an entire homiletic series on, of course, courtship and dating and marriage and love and true romance and in a very, very traditional Catholic kind of spectrum. And generally speaking, it's something that, what you might come off of sometimes is in the steps is essentially, like allowing your girlfriend to hold your hand. Okay, if you got it.
Do you let Jen hold your hand?
Not after this meme.
No, dude. I don't let Ashley hold my hand anymore.
Yeah, I know. I've heard. Yeah,
concupiscence.
Concupiscence. That's exactly it. Smacking it away from concupiscence. What a Chad move. This is the. So let it be known, right? If you are in love, don't become a priest. You're missing out your vocation. The end.
Yeah, if you're a man, don't get married.
That's it. It's like you could look what St. Paul did. St. Paul's like, I mean, if you gotta get married, but do you gotta? Father Ripperger is. Here's the cool thing. I'll say a little about him. So one thing about Father Ripperger that I think adds to there's a sort of cult of personality that you got to be careful of if you fall deep into it. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of us kind of go through a Ripperger phase because of a couple of things. First off, he's brilliant. I mean, there's just no way to say that.
He's really good.
He's really, really good. And also the way that he explains things is extremely digestible. And so, for instance, a lot of people get on Father Ripperger because obviously he's an exorcist priest, so he talks about the experiences, but he talks about exorcism in the right way. So one thing that he says that I thought was awesome was he was like, one thing you have to know about exorcism is our Lord's in control. This isn't the devil getting a one-up against God. It's God allowing, there are really limited conditions that God allows for such a thing to take place. And demons a lot of times don't want it because they know it's going to happen. And Father Ripperger in particular, through the old rite prayers and everything, banishes them to the foot of the cross again. And that's the last place you want to be if you're a demon or a bunch of demons or whatever. So he's a Chad. He's a real cool dude. I want to meet him one day, and hopefully I will because he's in my home state. So whatever.
You might meet him.
I'm gonna.
So this is one of those memes that I'm talking about. Initially, it's topical, right? You look at it and you're like, oh, that's funny. It's a priest. And you kind of make that connection. It's like an exaggeration of don't get close to your girlfriend. But if you didn't know what concupiscence was and you just ran into it on a meme, you're going to look it up.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's funny too because honestly, I didn't know what that word was until I came, generally speaking, into the trad movement.
Or proclivity.
Into proclivity of sin. Yeah, you'd be like, what does it mean? That's a cool thing again. It's bringing back things that used to be just cultural norms for us.
Yeah.
But it's stuff that has been lost. So how do you recover it? Well, you could write, treatises and exhortations and all that kind of stuff. And that's important, of course. But it's hard to someone who's searching or discerning or someone who's fallen away from the faith, it's really, really hard to get them to read an encyclical.
Yeah.
You know, it just is, right? Even for people who are inside the faith, right? It's just like and the way that we're wired now, especially, it's like you need short, digestible kinds of content is really nice. And so, boom, like right away, what do we learn from this? We learn, stop with your lust and become a priest.
But, you know, to speak to something a little serious, there is a general lack of catechesis in the church.
Major.
And there's a lot of reasons why. Is that a cough?
Oh, no, I didn't just call me cough on camera.
Bro, get out.
Later, y'all.
Get out of here.
I swear it was just a tickle. I'm clear. I got myself tested. I'm
serious.
I know,
bro.
right? I know. Sorry. Chat, pray for me. Sorry, I didn't mean for a cough to throw you off track.
Well, no, there's a lot of reasons for it. I can say a few different ones. I won't get into it too much because it's a little mad trad. But anyway, the reality is that there is a lack of catechesis.
Huge.
And it's interesting to me that now a meme catechizes you in such a way that like you wouldn't normally get in like a homily or something most of the time. Like we're spoiled. We get like really awesome homilies.
Yeah, it's like expected on the rag.
Yeah, we have access to like really good resources from our priests and stuff. So that's really good, but that's not normal. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I pray and I hope that one day it is. I think it will be, you know.
Well, stuff like this it is.
Maybe not in my lifetime.
Sure. I mean, and this is you know, because we talked about this before, like this path that God has put us on is something that parts that we want to be actualized and realized just in terms of time. It's something that our grandchildren are going to be seeing a lot more of a change of, right? We're going to see it in our lifetime. I think we're going to be old men by the time like things like that really come back into full swing. But we see how the potential is, and it's like a lot of young Catholics and young priests especially everyone's a little rough around the edges, and everyone's sick. I'm noticing this. Like, I don't know about you, but I think that part of being like in the joy of the truth of God is being able just to smile. Like when Christ says that like my yoke is easy, my burden's light, it's like, yeah, it sounds farcical, but then you understand it a little bit more. Things like this, like if I'm not a slave to my passions, yeah, things become a lot easier because I'm not racked with guilt or sin or anything like that.
Speaking of slaves to passions,
next meme.
The next meme is
get him, all you.
Skinner, right? That's his name.
That's right. Well done,
Principal Skinner. I haven't watched this.
I wasn't allowed to watch Simpsons when I was growing up. By the way, because my parents loved me and wanted to protect me. I'm just kidding.
I wasn't able to watch this because it came on late. At night, so I had to be in bed by that time. Mm-hmm. But generally, I wasn't allowed to watch TV. But here's another one. Run into something like this. What does it mean to be a slave to my passions?
Slave to my passions.
Am I eating too much?
No.
If I'm sitting around all day and I'm doing nothing, am I eating too much? Or I'm guilty of this. I'll give you an example. Friday rolls around, right? And our priest does this really awesome exposition of the Blessed Sacrament. And then he has a little talk afterwards, right? Mm-hmm. Well, a couple weeks ago, I was like getting into the habit of like watching the Mass, turning it off at the end, and then just like bolting to the nearest restaurant and like trying to find some food, right? Because they close at 8.
Yeah.
So I would like bolt and get food, and then I would text Ashley. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going? What's up?" And she's like, "Why aren't you watching the thing?" I'm like, "Oh, it's because I'm a slave to my passions. It's because I'm thinking about my stomach rather than thinking about what's really important, getting some spiritual food." You know? That's a good one here.
But you know what's funny? It's a counter to it too, because this is such a beat on the culture, isn't it? No, I can't be the one who's wrong, because no one's ever wrong, right? It's God who is wrong. And like the realization phase. I mean, I know a lot of people we all know people, and we do it ourselves, of course. It's not like to blame it on other people, because Lord knows we all do this in so many ways. Am I, how many times have we try to rationalize and justify sin or laziness or imprudence or something like that?
Yeah.
All the freaking time. So it's just like, am I doing this? Nah.
No,
right?
I'm fine.
I even, I think about this because this is actually like the first, again, like Book of Genesis, right? When Satan comes to Eve, it's not an encyclical, it's not a counterpoint, it's not a Summa Theologia. It's just like
it's a juicy piece of fruit.
That's all he says. It's just like, did he tell you? Did he really say you not to eat it? Yeah, he told us not to eat it. Well, yeah, that's all this is. So it's kind of like, it's cool because it's topical, but also it's a really short way of transmitting what is a really deep philosophical consideration. But it's funny. Like, I don't want to be like, this isn't supposed to be just like the academia of memes. We're obviously going to get into it. Which is important, actually. I would honestly go to a class on the academia of memes because these things can be weaponized. But it's true. It's awesome.
In 2012, I would make a joke like, oh yeah, I go to school for memes. I have a major in memology.
You're the reason I drink.
But nowadays, since the school systems are so bad, you could probably go for a program.
Actually, they do teach memes in some school, and you could pay a lot of money for it. Probably some liberal arts school. It's a Catholic liberal arts school.
What's funny about this one too is you can change out the words. Like, I know somebody who will say like, "Oh, you don't have to go to confession." So you could switch out the words. Do I have to go to confession? No, it's God.
God who's wrong, right?
Like, where is it in the scriptures that we have to do that? Well, here it is.
Oh, gosh.
Here, and here.
Here, and here. And they're like, no.
Now, I'm not a prot, so I don't have those queued up. I can't quick fire off the hip and say, oh, check out this book here and there.
I used to.
Scripture verse there.
I wasn't like, I'm like used to be a Protestant, but I used to know all the verses and the counter verses back in my apologetic days. Boy, if you would have seen me 3 years ago, dang, could not keep up.
Now, where do we want to take it?
Okay.
Do we want to get Dank here?
Okay.
Do we want to take it to the
chat?
Dank
Should
level?
we get Dank? I think so.
Let us know, chat. Do you think we should get a little Dank here?
I'd get Dank if I was us, just a little Dank, because part of memes also is there's like it's a culture war, and do that one. Oh please.
Okay, we'll do this one.
Okay. Oh, it's so wonderful.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so
just to flex on our prot brothers.
Our prot brothers. If there's any Protestants in the chat, hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Glad Chat podcast. Save your soul. Come join the popery on this side of the Tiber. And what's a better way of Calvin, I am your mother? No, that's not possible. You're just a regular woman. Search your heart. You'll know what's to be true. And they actually opened Calvin's mouth, which is so dang. Just for that, no! Star Wars Episode 5 style. Which Jen and I just watched, by the way, because we've been on a Star Wars binge. So, very good.
I think Star Wars is ruined for me now.
Well, I told her not to watch episodes 7 through 9. I said she can watch it if she wants to. I'm not going to do it with her.
The new movies just took out so much of my enjoyment of the franchise that I don't even have the urge to watch the new ones at all.
You know what's very funny is that the new ones were so horribly received that they redeemed the prequels. And when I watch the prequels now, I go, wow, this is not as bad as it could have been.
Well, see, this is what happens when you inject like woke
woke
culture into just like like Star Wars isn't anything like, it's not a political statement.
Not at all.
It never was that.
But now we know that the Empire is full of white supremacists. That's an actual, I think that's Ryan Johnson.
And then you inject current events into it, and it's just like,
well,
I don't want to watch this anymore.
And again, you can, not in Star Wars, because I just don't think the bar is, because it's like, I'm not watching Star Wars really for like the dynamic political escapades. That was one of the traps that the prequels fell into. People are like, we're not doing this for trade negotiations.
Yeah.
Where are my Jedi at? I mean, the Clone Wars are freaking awesome, obviously, but the series is kind of what made it awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'd say the same thing. But on the flip side, this meme is awesome. So anyone, of course, John Calvin is one of the Protestant reformers. He was, I would say he was more radical than Luther, because Calvinists believe in double predestination and all this other kind of stuff, and they're really anti-iconography. And so I'm just picturing like the Virgin Mary like appearing to Calvin and his long beard, just no, you're not my mother. It's true.
Dude, speaking of John Calvin, I was playing this game the other day called Kingdom Come Deliverance. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
All right, I don't know how many
Based in trap.
I don't know how many people in chat play video games or anything. But anyway, this game is like set in the 13th century, and it's like kind of in like the Prague, like Hungary area.
Oh, the kind of Eastern Europe kind of place. Yeah, yeah.
So you play this character. He's a blacksmith's son, and you know, I won't spoil it if you ever want to play it. But essentially, you like go on a path to become a knight.
Mm.
And so I'm on this quest where you go into this town, and you have to like track down a murderer. So you track down the priest there, because apparently the guy who got murdered, he confessed.
Oh.
Right before he got murdered, so he died in a state of grace. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, the priest starts talking to you, and you're trying to. I guess the character doesn't understand the seal of confession, so the priest explains that to you. And then he says, you know, meet me later, and I'll see if I can get around it and maybe help you out anyway without breaking the seal.
Some Father Brown stuff. I like it. All right.
So you meet the priest. It turns out this guy, he's like a fanatic of Jan Hus. Jan Hus.
Yeah.
Jan Hus.
Jan Hus.
I'm confusing it because in that area you pronounce the J as a Y, so it's Jan Hus. Jan Hus.
Jan Hus.
Jan Hus.
Jan Hus.
Howdy there.
Jan Hus and his King James Bible.
Shoot from the hip.
Shoot from the hip. God on my lips.
Soul scripture. So anyway, this guy, he starts talking about Jan Hus and how he's a disciple and he loves it and he's going to start preaching.
The priest says this.
Yeah, he's Catholic, and he starts talking about how he wants to do that. Jan Hus, by the way, if you don't know who this is, was like one of the precursors of the Protestant Reformation.
Huge precursor.
Reformation. Huge. Protestant Deformation.
Hey, probably.
So I took out my sword right then and there, and I was going to murder him.
Uh-huh.
But you can't, because he's a quest-specific person. So you
I love how the reason you stay your blade.
Well, look. I don't want you to think I'm just like, I like violence in video games, because I don't like that.
We don't?
But he was going to start. I come from the future, and I know that his actions were going to have serious repercussions, so I had to kill him.
The Inquisition did nothing wrong. That's the official endorsement of the Glad Trad podcast. Did I tell you about the Jehovah's Witnesses on my door the first time?
No,
first time. So my main interlocutor was this tall man who was very well spoken and very, very sharp. My main interlocutor. But the first time it was this like kind of old, really nice like granny kind of lady. But I remember that I told her like I was a Catholic, and I was being very clear that I was like an actual Catholic, like, and so much to the point where it's like stuff that like for the Catholics have to sweep under the rug. Oh, we apologize for the Crusades, all this other kind of stuff. I was like, no. I was like, maybe the last one. I was like the first one.
All of them.
So she asked me this. I remember that she did this. This might be a little dank, but she was like, so do you think like burning at the stake was right? And I went. I'm not saying that we should do it now. But saints like St. Thomas More thought, I was like this, I was like, if the truth can be twisted so potently, what are your measures that you take justifiably to defend the truth? And I was also not going to sweep my boys like Sir Thomas More under the rug. So I didn't say I'm not saying burn Jehovah's Witnesses, never do that. I don't advocate for violence unjustifiably, which is only,
we would never say that.
We would never say that. I'm just saying when the empire is restored, or when Pope Leo the 14th or Pius the 13th wants to take the throne and institute an Inquisitor General, I might put in an application. That's all I'm saying.
I have on LinkedIn. It just let people know if you're available.
That's all I'm saying.
Click, yeah, I'm available.
This starts to say just a little bit.
All right, let's move on to the next meme.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
And this one is.
This one's good.
We can spend a little time on this one because this one's so good.
God bless you, Latin Mass Society.
Latin Mass Society.
Whew, this one is topical.
Here we go.
Pull that up.
Sorry. Just trying to fit it in here. There we go.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Okay.
Jordan, you amateur. You like took a photo of a screen and then screenshotted.
I screenshot my meme. You didn't clean it up before? The memes are supposed to be dank, not our presentation.
This is literally a phow of a screen. Then they screenshotted.
I loved it so much. I couldn't wait. Okay, so do you want to tackle this one first, or shall I? Ooh.
How do we explain the hermeneutic of continuity? It's a way
no, that's
of
a real That's a real Catholic phrase right there.
Yeah. Essentially, what it is this. It's a way of trying to fit the idea of certain really kind of things that don't make sense of Vatican II, as in like square pegs, into round holes of like the constant tradition of the church. I don't have an example.
I'll have a perfect example. Once upon a time,
off the top of my head.
Grace says my brain has tried so hard. God bless you, Grace. We're sorry. Not sorry. Let me give you an example. Once upon a time, there used to be this phrase in the church called extra ecclesia nulli salus, which was no salvation outside the church. Now, this was a very common phrase. This is a phrase from councils such as Trent. This is a phrase from saints. This is something that Catholics just kind of took for granted. If Jesus Christ founded a church upon which the gates of hell will not prevail, then it only makes sense that he that stays with Rome has the highest, I'll say the highest potential for salvation, because obviously just being a Catholic doesn't mean, like, look at like Dante's Inferno. Like, as Catholics, we believe that yes, a Catholic can go to hell, obviously. That being said, that phrase has kind of disappeared. And it's not that it's been abhorred because it's actual doctrine. It can't be abhorred. But hermeneutical continuity talks about the supremacy of conscience and invincible ignorance to the extreme. So you're not just like a native in 900 BC in the Americas who's trying to follow the natural law. Instead, it's like, or I don't know, like if you are practicing a different sort of religion today, but you're a good person. So essentially, it's boiled down things. So that's the hermeneutical continuity in a nutshell. We have the drawing of the horse for 2,000 years, and then there's some stuff, and it's like, this is a horse. This is church music. And you're like, I don't know if that's like concurrent with...
If you're still struggling with this, think about...
Just look at the horse.
Think about almost 2,000 years of tradition, right? Tradition, it brewed slowly. It was a tea. It was a coffee brewing. And the dripping of the coffee through the filter, that's tradition over time, all right? So we have this constant tradition of the church. Constant.
Thank you. Constantine.
And then let's say, for example, that in the 60s, some theologians were saying things like, well, can we really think that, is it wrong to have a hope to say that maybe hell is empty because of God's mercy? And it's like, yes. What I mean to say is no, we cannot imagine. We can't imagine or have a hope that hell is empty because the scriptures don't say that. The tradition of the church doesn't say that. It doesn't make sense. And so now what we're trying to do is, and I think that there's some priests and some authorities who are trying to take something like that and jerry-rig it so that it fits to the tradition of the church now, and it's like, no, it doesn't. Can we just leave it behind? Can we just throw it away? Because it didn't make sense. Right?
This is an easy way of maybe like thinking about it. So remember, there are two perfect examples I know in the scriptures, right? But men come to Christ and say, "What must I do to be saved?" Pretty cut and dry. And Christ tells them, right? You should love the Lord your God with all your heart, your mind, your soul, your strength, and you should love your neighbor as yourself. Unless you are born of water and spirit, you will have no life within you. Like pretty dogmatic things, you know what I mean? Like sell all your possessions and follow me, you name it. Now imagine this. Now, when's the last time you've ever asked that of a priest, maybe? I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had friends ask me, like, Jordan, how do I get to heaven? Like, your version of whatever you believe in, like, what does it mean to it? If someone comes to you and says, listen, I'm following, like, all these good things, but I just don't believe in, like, the Catholic faith or whatever. Can I go to heaven? The answer is, well, I don't know where you're going to go, but I would say this. Best Catholic way and tactful way I'd say is this. Imagine that you are, it's almost like Pascal's wager Catholic edition. It's like, suppose that God himself has given you a blueprint for salvation. I would suggest you follow the blueprint. And
it's like, I like this blueprint, but I kind of want to add a second story to the house.
I like this horse, but can we make it like DW from Arthur? Don't you see?
So I think the context of this meme, though, because we were explaining what the hermeneutic of continuity is, right? But I think the context of this, coming from the Latin Mass Society, is like, it's the Latin Mass. It's like the beautiful like tradition of the church, and it's like a beautiful sketch of that horse, right? And then it's like, 60s come around, and then like you're like, hey son, do you want to finish the rest of this painting? Yeah, sure, dad. And then like they take the little crayon and they're like,
And what we've done is we've said, instead of going, that's bad art, because the church doesn't believe in bad art or bad music or bad culture anymore. But and that might sound like a very barbed critique, which it is, because it's true. The Catholic Church has been so good about preserving the art, sciences, and cultures. And nowadays you see stuff that's just in churches, art, culture, music, festivals, priest homilies, priests on scooters, priests flying drones, shall we? You know, how about Eucharistic ministers, extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion wearing Sesame Street shirts? Hashtag Taylor Marshall.
What's the worst thing you've ever seen?
Okay, so that's a very good question.
It doesn't have to be in person.
Okay. Doesn't have to be in person? Oh, man. I mean, anything that comes up on...
Both. In person and
so,
online.
This is the tricky thing. So I think I remember this. The one of the most traumatic, not like traumatic, but I did have this experience there was a church, it was one of the ritzy churches a little farther in town in Parker, Colorado. Not Ave Maria, I promise you, by the way. But I'll tell you this, I remember my sister and I went to mass there, and before the homily, the priest brought out like these coloring books for kids, because now they have like that children's liturgy, right, where they lead all the kids away. That's not in the rubrics, whatever. And so they have this thing where he was like, here's a question of the day. Can pets go to heaven? Like, will your pets go to heaven?
No.
And I went, there are two ways to respond to this. The first way is what you tell your 4-year-old, which is, if you need your goldfish in heaven to be happy, God will see to it. And then you tell your 5-year-old, no, pets don't have souls like that. You will be completely satisfied in heaven, but don't think like your pet's like going to be miserable. It's like it doesn't have the same sort of rational soul that you have. You know what he said? So I was waiting for this one. I was waiting for one that was like, I was waiting for like the easy breezy, beautiful Catholic cover girl answer, right? No, dude, he went, I asked before the homily, can all pets go to heaven? They're doing this while like the gifts are being brought up, or not get the money, right? The kids come up and put the money in the basket. Yes! All your pets go to heaven, all your dogs, all your cats. And I remember I looked at my sister and we both just went, yikes. Yeah, we went, no, padre. That's the first time in my life I've ever had the urge. I was like 14 or 15, but that's the first time I was like, did I just see something like should I say something? Of course I didn't, because you're a 14-year-old snot-nosed kid. But still, I was like, how do you even,
wow,
padre? I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
So that's the worst thing I've seen. Now that sounds that could there's a lot of worse things. Obviously, anything I've seen that's bad.
Yeah. I think the worst thing for me was the wind chime. The
Oh
guy
my
with the wind chime
gosh.
solo, he's just like has like a giant wind chime and a gong and
The worst thing,
a Home Depot bucket.
dude, the worst thing I've seen
on,
without
man.
being, I'm just gonna be flat. The worst thing I've ever
Mass.
seen that hasn't, like, I've not seen in person has just been our liturgical, our religious education congress.
Ooh.
Every year, like those
Hey,
liturgies.
why don't we segue into that
I
one?
figured we would. Wait,
Here
what?
we go.
Was that a segue?
All right, we'll segue into
Chat, in the meantime, if you want to write what have been the worst kind of experiences like that are memic, you're more than welcome to. We do love to hear from you, obviously.
Scoot over.
Oh, scoot over.
Because you're off camera.
Oh.
There you go.
No one wants to see me anyway. It is all.
All right, here we go. Now we're talking.
Ooh.
Now we're getting real dank.
Welcome to the excommunicado, boys.
All right, now this is the LA Religious Education
The
Congress.
LA Rec.
Which
is
which
literally is called the LA Rec. Exactly.
we call it the REC. WRECK.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Saw that. Mercy.
Yeah, as brother does. But this is one of the worst things that. Oh wow, Grace, that's horrible. This is one of the worst things that still, for whatever reason, continues to be a part of LA culture, LA Catholic culture, if you could call it that.
I didn't know this thing existed. It's like I really didn't.
Chris says Congress equals liturgical abuse
caught.
convention.
Yeah, boy.
If you want to have a laugh, type in LA Rec.
Yeah, just type in like
on YouTube. Right?
Yeah, or type in like Religious Education Congress Mass or closing liturgy or opening liturgy.
Opening liturgy. If you want to have a laugh, type that in. Oh my goodness.
They do
every year
themed masses too. So there's a Celtic one and a Cinco de Mayo themed kind of looking one, and like all these different cultures coming together and blending their musics and everything. Isn't it wonderful? And then plenty of liturgical dancers and bowls of incense, and it's just, and on the altar is like this. Altar is like a square. I can't even. I don't know. It's not. I don't know if there's a saint in there. I hope there's not. I'm just screaming to get out. So anyway, this last religious education, this last rec, was about the same as all of them, which is that, look, this is different too. I think I noticed this about myself. Sometimes when I'm feeling a little blue, I watch some of this to laugh a little bit. And I'm not laughing at the divine elements of the Mass. I never am. But the human element, it's so ridiculous. You can't make this stuff up. And I remember something my father used to tell me. So even nowadays, right, when you ask like, how is Mass? The response from my family is perfect. The Mass is perfect. And now I'm like, I remember I was telling my dad about this. And my dad was like, well, remember it's a Mass, which is true. Which is true, Dad. Which is true.
Look, we're not arguing.
We're not saying it's not the Mass. I'm not saying that Christ isn't transubstantiated. But I'm just saying, like, well, look at it. Like, if St. Thomas Aquinas, St. Augustine, St. Thomas More, like, St. Faustina, if any of these people were just, like, there, look at it's like line from Monty Python, look at the bones! Yeah. So this picture that you're seeing is a little dank, but honestly, like, it's Father James Martin front and center, and
the usual suspects.
The usual suspects in the background. It's bad, guys. It's just, it's a garbage fest. And it'd be way more funny if it wasn't our diocese. If it wasn't our
people describe this as like the Catholic Coachella, and I think that just makes it. I think they say it to make it sound cool, but it just makes it even worse.
Yeah,
because it's like, oh, well, that's what I have to expect from it, right? Because essentially that's what it is. You get headline speakers, and usually the headline speakers are like the super like modernist, like worst of the worst.
Yep.
And like last year,
like Father James Martin.
Father James Martin again. Right. And they also had this other artist there. I don't know his name.
The one that does
even if I did, I wouldn't tell you.
The one that does those
give him the clicks.
Those homoerotic Jesus paintings.
Jesus was
this is true, by the way. That's commissioned by the church, by the way. Like, we bought this stuff. So
our Archbishop allows this for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's not like he doesn't preside, by the way. So we have, and again, like nobody. They would never, you know this too, like this is when we talk about, so again, like this is a meme that, like laughter and war, risus et bellum, this is definitely more on the war side. It's also just because, it is laughter too, because guys, it is such, if you have the ability to laugh at liturgical abuse, I'm not saying that you have to laugh at all of it, obviously it's an evil that we have to fight, but like, look, if you don't laugh about something, you'll cry, right? And that's how I am. I'm like, I have to laugh, otherwise I'm just gonna weep openly.
That's funny, because I have a different
I know that you do, yeah.
I have more of a bellum approach to it, where it's like, it's abhorrent, I can't laugh at this, it needs to be like...
It needs to be burned off. You'd make a better Inquisitor General than I would.
Yeah.
But I'll write the Chesterton-esque essays about it.
Alright, whoever the Pope is going to be, if you're watching this video...
Johann,
right.
Probably. Who is way more...
I don't want Johann to be the Pope. If you're watching this video, I am more qualified to be the Inquisitor than my friend here, Jordan. Okay.
That's true, but think about how much dankness there'll be instead of just burning at the stake 24/7.
You can be the Associate Inquisitor.
Oh, that sounds horrible. That's like the HR department of the Inquisitor. Like, he's the Inquisitor General, and I'm the Inquisitor General's friend. Oh shoot! I say one more meme, and then because this actually would be the perfect catalyst.
It's a good segue.
Yeah, this is a good segue. Yeah,
it's a good segue. So keep this one in your hat, because this is a good segue to what we're mad about this week.
Oh man, they ain't ready for this one.
Let's see.
Take it away. Poor Ashley said, this pic gets worse the longer you look at it. That's extremely true. Chris says, it honestly feels troublingly similar to an anime expo. That is so shockingly true.
Yeah.
I want to go one year, though, but not for the reasons people think. While you search it up, Zach says, worst thing I've heard was a priest saying he did not give the apostolic pardon unless the person was unconscious and couldn't go to confession.
All right. That is...
This is a good, yeah. This one, okay. So, obviously, we're dancing around it, but look, part of the meme war, part of the culture war, is understanding that there are factions inside the church that are, I'm not going to say diametrically opposed in all instances, but it feels like it.
Yeah.
There are those who believe in the hermeneutic or continuity and would draw a legit picture of a horse, and those who believe that the horse should look however somebody wants it to look. And so first off, what's very funny about living with Pope Francis as our legitimate Holy Father, want to stress that right away, because otherwise, there are plenty of people who just want to walk away. They want to be sedevacantists or bene plenis or any of these other kind of weird legalisms they can try to filter in. I honestly think that people just can't stomach the fact that sometimes you have a bad pope in history. Now, it changes, right? There are some popes who will excommunicate the entirety of Tuscany or whatever because he won't give them papal lands. Pope Julius II, although I don't know if it was quite Tuscany, but that's one. There are popes who are obviously who live contrary to their faith, who have mistresses, or engage in horrid activities, and obviously don't keep the nurture of the faith. There are popes, these ones are rare, but we are living in a situation who say a lot of things which seem to be very bited attacks against the tradition of the faith, downright to insulting, I would say, a lot of priests who I know, right? I was scared. Downright to a lot of priests who are trying to do the best in they can, right? Down to the Saturno hats, down to the long cassock, even just like the trappings, right? We got to watch out about proselytization, all this other kind of stuff. Now, he is our Holy Father, and so I think as Catholics who are wanting to have a good relationship with our Father, it's like, what do you do when your father is drunk, like it was with Noah and his sons in the Old Testament?
Dude, my dad is beating me.
He's
abusing me.
You could either laugh at your father's nakedness, or you can attempt to clothe your father. That's what we try to do, and so this is part of the meme too. Also, it's just a funny meme.
Is that an iFunny logo? Jordan,
dude, they're download. This one. I think this one was a legit download. Someone screenshotted it before. Yeah. You leave me alone. I just play it.
I wish I had the other one queued up. Anyway,
this is also a picture. So do you guys remember a Baltimore Catechism, which is like the chattest Catholic way to be catechized? Has these wonderful illustrations that are really good about understanding, like for kids especially, understanding like the concepts of suffering and hardships. And this is like when your mom and dad would used to say, offer it up.
I don't know if we have people in the chat who have children, or if you're about to have children. Joe, I think you're about to be a father. Congratulations. I'm sure you're going to get the Baltimore Catechism because it's great for kids when you're trying to teach them about the faith. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of photos and stuff in there that really kind of drive the point home.
Yeah,
all the theological concepts home. Yeah.
So this is a perfect one where it's like when you don't like Pope Francis, but Mama ain't raised no sedevacantists. This tastes terrible, Lord, but I'll eat it for you. Sacrifices.
Boy, oh boy, does this taste terrible?
Does this taste?
This whole thing that we're living through, it tastes awful.
It's just a compound of it, right? But here's the thing too. It's like we make that choice. There are a lot of people who just want to walk away and are done with it, right?
Wait, we'll do one more meme and then we'll segue into mad trads.
Okay. Grace says, I love those books because I couldn't read. That's Grace. So anyway, it's true. This is a terrible time.
We're talking about terrible times, and terrible times. We have stuff like this going on here. Whoa. Sorry, it's a little crass.
Society Pius X logo. Whoa, controversy. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I like the SSPX. Anyway, that's another conversation.
I tolerate them sometimes.
When you read the preparatory document of the Synod of Bishops.
Oh my God.
Do you remember around the time everybody was like, no, it's going to get revised. It's going to be fine. It's like, dude, have you seen the track record of this?
Can we just take a moment to remember that the Amazon Synod happened?
Yeah.
This was actually a thing that I keep forgetting about this. But it's like a tumor that doesn't go away. Thank you for reminding me. Hey, do you remember when Pachamamas are in the... We're worshipped in St. Peter.
So guys, we have a hard pill to swallow here. All right, we're living through really strange times.
Strange times indeed. This one's a little dank. I like it.
It is very dank.
Today's sass.
And I remember at that time, there was all the coverage and stuff, and I was watching it, and I was like, man, this is bleak. I don't know, how are we gonna make it through this stuff? I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe that's why the plague came. This is to throw everything off.
Honestly, this is what I think. It might very well be. It certainly is punishment from God. And honestly, here's something to really think about. It's like, Christ promises that the gates of hell will not prevail, But that doesn't mean that sometimes it doesn't look like it's getting close, does it? That doesn't mean it's just at bay forever.
Yeah.
Because we let in who we let into the church. We ourselves are sinful. So yeah, so it's like, but man, dude, that Pan-Amazonian sin, I was so convinced they were going to try a new rite. I was so convinced they were going to go for women deacons for a second.
Well, they still might. So.
That's true.
Time will tell.
Well, the objective truth of the church shall protect. So at that point, at least it'd be easy to be like, yeah, that's not right.
See, this is the hermeneutic continuity that they're
bring
trying
the
to
horse.
the square peg of hermeneutic of continuity that they're trying to fit into the circular hole of tradition.
The worst. Oh man, yeah. So I will.
So anyway,
that's good.
So
That
let's
feels
get
nice.
into mad trads. Let's get mad a little.
We got a top. Anthony, if you're still in chat, you know exactly what we're going to be
Anthony,
talking
you know what
about.
we're gonna be
my boy.
talking
You're the one that
about.
turned me on to this too. Rudy, how's it going? Rudy, how's quarantine going?
Oh, man.
How's not going to mass, Rudy? How's not having confession going, Rudy?
That's frustrating.
What if I told you that do not worry because the Diocese of Los Angeles, hosted by a little panel of moderators and Archbishop
Really?
Gomez, are going to answer all your questions about...
You mean a town hall?
They're going to have a town hall, Rudy.
Wow.
You just got to go to...
Maybe they'll give us a battle plan about what they're going to do to open up the church, right?
That's exactly right, bro. We can just go to LA Catholics.
I could spare an
together.
hour to just to watch this. Like, I would love to spend
Dude,
my time doing that.
Come on, think about how much how much our higher ups respect our opinions and the desires of the faithful, and also just respect the fact that the mass is more important than the state. Imagine that, right? What happened, Rudy?
Oh man.
What happened, Rudy?
All right, so yesterday, in case you missed it, the Archbishop did a town hall meeting along with a psychiatrist, and I don't know what the other people were.
I care.
There was a mom talking about how she is evangelizing her family,
How, Rudy?
but kind of isn't. And then there was another woman who I guess was like a young adult coordinator for like the country or something. And she was talking about like, I don't honestly, I tuned out.
We went to the other side of the tracks. That's what we saw, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the other side of the tracks, man.
And to make things worse, there was these questions and polls that you were able to ask, right? You were able to ask. Yeah, like, you want to ask the Archbishop something about whatever? Yeah, type it in.
Yeah, you'll
type
be
it
in,
in, of course. Well, who could be surprised that nobody got their question answered?
Surprise Pikachu face. That was a meme we should have had.
I mean, nobody's question was answered.
Yeah.
They were all
Not a
like
gosh darn
softball questions that, I mean, at one point this lady called in, because you could call in as well. I'm surprised nobody trolled them. But this lady calls in and like literally rambles. If you've ever listened to Catholic radio and when people allow them to call in, like people get nervous and stuff and they call in and they just ramble for like 5 minutes and they never get their question out. That's what happened. She was talking about whatever, and then she said, anyways, that's my question, and I'd like to follow it up with a comment.
Yeah.
And like you could see the Archbishop's face. He's like, trying to like make sense of what was going on. And he just kind of like gave some weird answer to the question that wasn't a question.
Oh, God.
But essentially what happened was, during the course of this stream, nothing was answered of substance. Like somebody asked, hey, when are the churches going to be opened? And he said, well, I don't have a definitive answer. We're deferring to the local government to tell us when we can open or not.
See y'all in 2021.
So we don't have an answer. I wasted an hour of my time.
Yeah.
And everybody else who watched it. And we still don't have a definitive answer of when we're going to be able to go back to the church.
And you know what's funny is that that's the only, out of all the questions, that was the only legitimate one.
Yeah.
The other ones were
like, it could have been a 5-minute stream. Just ask that question.
It could have been a post. The diocese could have tweeted this out, but no one would have tuned in if that was the case.
It's kind of funny if you go on the diocese's Twitter and you like see the post. They're like, "Hey, we're live streaming," and then like you click on it, it's just people like, "Hey, you didn't answer anything."
Answer the dubia.
But I don't know. I lost my train of thought. But essentially, they could have just done this in like a minute, but they didn't have to stream it. Oh, actually, what I was gonna say is I did appreciate the psychiatrist, because he was talking about like, tips and tricks, like how to kind of cope with this whole thing.
Whole mental health of.
But our buddy Anthony was telling us like, oh, I feel so good now. I feel so prepared to cope with like this lockdown for the rest of however much time until somebody tells us that it's okay, that we can hang out together and do an episode together.
Right. Honestly, the thing is, okay, so into real quick. We understand that this sucks for everybody. What we are asking for, what's very difficult, is we're asking for some leadership. And the problem is that in the internet era, we are actually seeing really, really cool leadership, not just like locally, of course. Like I think our priests have been awesome. Our priests have been making the best out of this whole situation. And I'm really mad about one thing in particular, and that's the fact that once upon a time, our priests, on their own initiative, had social distance confession before the diocese just shut it all down. And so there are a lot of priests across who are just trying to do the right thing. I've been reading about, everyone it's like bishops like Bishop Strickland become heroes in this kind of places, like Texas, all over the country. There's bishops who are just doing their job. And what's the job? The fact that the mass is more important. And now that we have hard data on this whole commie cough thing, now we know that, hey, maybe we can, I'll open up the mass for social distancing. How about the other sacraments? Why is it so bad for confession? Is it not possible? Oh, well, don't worry, good. Yes, we talked about this before. Obviously, we believe in perfect contrition. But that doesn't make it a more easy pill to swallow. And by the way, that's not the norm. I mean, it's like when Christ looks at the good thief on the cross and says, "This day you'll be with me in paradise." Great, because obviously that was a testament of his faith there at the hour of his death. That's not the norm for us. And also, we have a perfect opportunity as shopping markets get more crowded, as bars and restaurants start opening up. Congratulations, friends. Churches, for whatever reason, we're just deferring to local authorities, and they're going to be closed. And if you're in California, apparently they might be closed until we find a vaccine.
Yeah.
So again, that was the most important thing on every Catholic's mind. What do we get instead? We get questions about like, hey, I'm in a family with different political beliefs. What sources should we go to? I'm like, heavens to Betsy, now's not the time.
Yeah.
This is the question that got through when all the other ones, very legitimate ones, weren't. And that's not somehow designed that way. Like this was a fair lottery that was just drawn up all of a sudden.
Well, look, to be fair, I want to throw a comment back on to something you just said. Look, people, again, I want to repeat myself. The sacraments are the primary vehicle of grace for us. That's the way that they were designed. That's the way that Christ established them to be. Yeah. Okay? This is not the norm. A perfect act of contrition is not the norm. That's like a safety net. Okay? Like the primary means is for you to go to mass every Sunday. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to confession ideally more than once a year. Okay? You got to baptize your kids. Mm-hmm. Okay? You got to do as much as you can. If you're dating somebody, you're living together, hey, maybe now's the time to convalidate your marriage. Yeah. Okay? Or is it convalidate your marriage?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
Go to the priest, get out of that life of sin, okay? But we can't do that right now because the church is closed. Yeah. And our leadership is just, you're fine, you'll be all right.
And there's the worst thing is the attempt. Like the problem with having a really long history of Catholicism is that besides bad leadership examples, which are all over the place, we have so many examples of heroic priests and bishops and popes who are living today. There are so many heroic people who are making the best out of this time, laity and clergy alike. But I think about this one a lot. One of the reasons why Christianity spread so rapidly in the first centuries was because when Rome would be hit by plagues and all the pagans would peace out, guys, peace out, the Christians are the ones who stayed. Why? Because it's actually a commandment of us to do things like comfort the sick and bury the dead. So congratulations. We have a perfect opportunity for churches to go, okay, look, we can try to play nice with our civil authorities, but we are bound by a higher power. And it's just like what Christ said to Pilate. Like, the only reason that the government of the United States or of California or however local or however national, international you want to get has any sort of temporal authority is because of our Father in heaven. So the most important thing is the Mass. And yes, we can talk about social distancing. We can talk about, I'm so mad about it with confession. And there was actually a couple of churches in California, St. Peter's and Paul and Wilmington, that are doing social distance confession. Why isn't this an option for our priests? I can't tell you the number of priests I've seen online and in person who are willing to do something like that, who are willing to give the sacraments. You realize that baptisms are on hold? You realize that last rites are on hold? You realize that marriages are on hold, right? I mean, look, it's not just a matter of, well, this is just a little inconvenience and we got to offer it up. It's like, yes, that's true. But guess what? There comes a point where it's like, well, when can we just start being men again?
Well, when is it that we
Yeah.
can get
And if,
sort of back to normal?
and if the answer is that if you believe, like I do, like you do, that the church has a really, really tepid relationship with the civil authorities in this part of the world, then why would you defer to the civil authorities on allowing for
To
the
begin with.
sacraments?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. And you know, it's funny, your darling fiance made this little comment. Why are my chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A more essential than the holy sacrifice of the Mass? Spot on.
Yeah, why is that?
Why is that? Although the chicken nuggets are pretty good.
Just not Chick-fil-A. I'm not a fan of Chick-fil-A anymore after what they did.
Well, I mean, the product is good.
I think I'll get rid of them when I'm the Inquisitor.
You know what? I'll make it out of it. So anyway.
Yugi boy.
So yeah, it's a frustrating time. And I think that one thing, again, we're just looking for is leadership. And we have local leadership, but our local leadership, because they're our local leadership, are deferring their obedience to our higher-ups, which is a good thing. But then we expect our higher-ups to really try to reciprocate that. And the problem I'm having with this whole thing, and one conversation we Catholics are going to be having about for the next couple of years, is genuinely that we didn't fight. I don't think we fought hard enough to keep the Mass. So that's enough mad chatting. But yeah, that's a thing. That was yesterday was just a nothing burger.
Yeah.
Big fat nothing burger.
Yeah, huge nothing burger. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. Glad you guys are here. I really like this format, actually.
Yeah, dude.
Being live and being able to interact with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You got 15 minutes if you want to tune into the live Mass. Check out the traditional Latin Mass online.
Livemass.net.
So I'm going to drop the link, livemass.net.
There you go.
And if you need a missal, you can just search for 1962 missal.
Mm-hmm. Or if you have your Laudate app, which I know a lot of you do have, it's funny because there's actually a missal built in. If you go to Saints of the Day, Readings of the Day, then click Latin Mass, and that'll actually bring you up to date on what the Mass is today. So now you have no excuse not to follow along if that's what you so choose.
So you could follow along, and thanks for tuning in. If you would, please share it with your friends. We're trying to grow our viewership, our listenership, and you could find us on all of the podcasting applications, whichever one tickles your fancy.
All the podcasting applications.
I like the Apple Podcast personally, but you could find us on Spotify, you could find us on Stitcher, you could find us
Google's
on
podcast, podcast crawler. I mean, honestly, if you just type in Gladshot Podcast to Google, I did this, you'll find us on obscure places. It's kind of cool. Also,
Grace, thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
That's true. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell is so important.
Smash that
demolish that like button. If we can get 100 subscribers, we can do our community post, which is going to really help our channel and our conversation a lot.
Oh, I got to clock out of work.
That's it. All right, we are done, and thank you all so much for watching. God bless you. Mary keep you as Rudy comes back into frame here. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Anything else? Cool. Adios, everyone. Stay safe.
All right.